I wasn't planning on ever telling this story, but here we are. So a little background, I'm the youngest of two. My older brother, Nathaniel, has always had this charming mask. People outside the family loved him. Teachers, neighbors, random strangers at the grocery store. He had this way of smiling while slowly twisting the knife in your back. Me? I was the quiet one. I worked hard, didn't get into trouble, and stayed close to our parents. Especially our dad, who was my hero growing up. He built our family home with his own two hands. I mean literally, bricks, pipes, roof tiles, all of it. That house meant everything to him. So when he got diagnosed with cancer, it felt like the world cracked down the middle. He was given maybe a year. We all tried to hold it together, but we each coped differently. I moved back in to help take care of him. Nathaniel? He showed up with wine and empty promises once a month, just long enough to take some selfies and post #FamilyFirst on his socials. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Fast forward 8 months, and Dad started getting worse. One night, we were sitting on the back porch, just the two of us, and he told me he wanted the house to stay in the family, but with someone who would actually take care of it. Someone who knew its value. I'm leaving it to you, he said quietly. I'm writing it in the will this week. I told him I didn't care about the house, that I just wanted him to focus on resting. He laughed and said, "You'll care when you realize what your brother is capable of." I thought he was being dramatic. I didn't know how right he was. A week later, my dad passed in his sleep. Peacefully. I was the one who found him. We held a small funeral. Nathaniel gave some big, emotional speech about legacies and living life with purpose. I didn't cry. I felt too numb for tears. But I noticed Nathaniel wouldn't look me in the eye the entire time. Things unraveled quickly after that. The will didn't mention the house. Not at all. I stared at the lawyer, blinking. There must be some mistake. He told me last week. I'm sorry, the lawyer said, genuinely uncomfortable. The official will was updated 4 months ago. The house goes to your brother, Nathaniel. 4 months ago. That was around the time Dad had that weird infection and was on pain meds. He was barely lucid. I confronted Nathaniel in the parking lot after the reading. I didn't even raise my voice. I just said, "You changed the will." His smile was ice cold. Prove it. That was it. No apology. No denial. Just prove it, like this was some boardroom power play and not our father's final wish. He changed the locks 2 weeks later. I had nowhere to go. I had spent the last year caregiving full-time and barely had savings. Nathaniel offered to rent me one of the guest rooms for $1,200 a month. I didn't take it. I couch-surfed, swallowed my pride, and started rebuilding my life piece by piece. And I told myself, this isn't over. Because here's what Nathaniel didn't know. Dad kept journals. Dozens of them. Stored in the garage in an old metal filing cabinet. And I had scanned every page the week before he died. The journals were my dad's therapy, his way of making sense of the world. They were full of sketches of the house, stories from his youth, random philosophical thoughts, but also, details. Dates. Conversations. And most importantly, suspicions. He wrote about how Nathaniel had come by in February, right when Dad was on heavy meds after that infection. He noted how strange it was that Nathaniel kept bringing him documents to sign, always late at night, always when he was exhausted. Dad had even scribbled, "I don't remember what I signed yesterday." Nat said it was insurance forms. My hands shook as I read those lines. The timing lined up exactly with the date on the new will. That was it. That was the smoking gun. Not a legal one, but it was proof. Proof that Dad had been manipulated. That Nathaniel didn't inherit that house. He stole it. I wanted revenge, sure. But not the dramatic movie kind where I throw a brick through the window and scream like a lunatic. No. I wanted slow, surgical destruction. The kind that makes someone wish they'd just done the right thing. So I started planning. Nathaniel had one weakness: appearances. He lived for the image. Real estate influencer. Motivational speaker. He'd built an entire online brand around being a self-made property genius. And the house? It was his crown jewel. He filmed videos in it, staged photo shoots on the porch, even ran webinars from the home office that Dad built with his bare hands. I created a burner account and started following his content religiously. Watching his every post, every video, every smug live stream. I took notes. He'd brag about how the house was in his family for generations, how he personally restored it, a lie, how his father always dreamed he'd take over. I also noticed something else: he was planning to sell. Apparently, he'd been teasing a massive property upgrade for his followers. He claimed he'd been offered over $1 million for the place, which didn't surprise me. The neighborhood was gentrifying fast. And if he sold it, that would be it. The last trace of our dad's legacy gone. Sold off for content. So I took a risk. I contacted a reporter. Not just any reporter, but someone local. A guy who ran a podcast about shady real estate practices and inheritance fraud. I sent him copies of the journal entries, the will documents, and a detailed timeline. I didn't give my real name at first, just asked if he thought the story had legs. He responded in 2 hours: "Can we talk?" We did. I told him everything. I showed him the journals. The medical records. Even the video clips where Nathaniel bragged about restoring the house. He was practically asking to get caught. The podcast dropped 3 weeks later. It was called "The House That Built Me, and the Brother Who Took It." It didn't name us directly, but it didn't have to. Anyone who followed Nathaniel online figured it out fast. The fallout? Oh, it was glorious. Sponsors dropped him. His followers turned on him. People dug into his past deals. Turns out he'd been bending more rules than just Dad's will. But the best part? The buyer backed out. Apparently, the bad press made the deal too risky. And suddenly, that beautiful house Nathaniel had stolen, it became dead weight. Nathaniel tried to play it cool at first. He made a few vague statements about jealous family members and haters trying to tear down success. But the cracks started showing fast. He posted a tearful video claiming he was being unfairly targeted, which only made things worse. The comments were brutal. People were tagging the podcast, quoting Dad's journal entries, even finding old clips of Nathaniel contradicting himself. He went from real estate genius to fraudulent brother in a matter of days. Then came the real blow. Someone, maybe a fan, maybe just a good Samaritan, forwarded the podcast and the journal entries to the state attorney's office. I never asked them to. But suddenly, there was an investigation into potential elder financial abuse. Apparently, what Nathaniel did fell into a very gray legal area, but it was enough to freeze the title of the house. He couldn't sell. Couldn't refinance. Couldn't even list it. All he could do was sit in it, and watch it bleed money. See, the house was old. Charming, yes, but expensive. Pipes leaked. The roof needed work. And the mortgage Dad had paid off years ago? Nathaniel took out a fresh loan against it after the will reading. Because of course he did. I watched from a distance as he slowly unraveled. He sold his car. Tried to start a new online business. Claimed he was writing a book about overcoming betrayal. No one bought it. The brand was ruined. And the irony? For someone who loved attention, he couldn't walk into a grocery store without getting recognized now, for all the wrong reasons. Months passed. Then, in a move I did not see coming, Nathaniel reached out to me. Texted me out of nowhere. Just a single message. "We need to talk." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet. Not because I missed him. But because, deep down, I wanted to see him face to face. to see if there was any part of the brother I used to know still left. We met at a diner halfway between us. He looked terrible. Thinner. Eyes sunken. No watch, no fancy jacket. Just a hoodie and a forced smile. He sat down, sighed, and said, "You really went for the jugular, huh?" I didn't respond. He looked down at his coffee. "I'm selling. As is. Dirt cheap. I can't keep it anymore. And I wanted to offer it to you first." I almost laughed. "Offer? You mean after you stole it?" He flinched, but kept his voice steady. "Look, I know I messed up. I got greedy. I thought I was owed something. You always had Dad's love. I thought, this was mine." I stared at him. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt empty. Just a strange kind of disappointment. Like watching someone you once admired completely self-destruct. Then I asked, "So what's the price?" He named a number that was laughably low. Less than a third of what it was worth. He was desperate. And I had been saving, quietly, for a long time. I said I'd think about it. But the truth was, I already knew. I bought the house. Cash. I walked through the front door with the original keys my dad had given me years ago, the ones I'd never thrown away. The locks had been changed since then, but I had them replaced the same day. I wanted the house to feel like his again. Like ours. The place was a mess. Nathaniel hadn't kept up with anything, paint peeling in the hallways, water damage in the ceiling, even the backyard was overgrown with weeds taller than the fence. But I didn't care. I stood in the living room, surrounded by the silence of my father's work, and I breathed. It was over. Or at least, my part was. Nathaniel moved out 2 days before closing. Left a few boxes in the garage, junk he didn't want to deal with. I almost tossed them without looking, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was everything he didn't want the world to see. Unpaid bills. Notices from creditors. Some old photos of us as kids. And then, at the bottom of the box, a letter. It wasn't addressed. Just folded paper, worn like it had been opened 100 times. The handwriting was shaky. It was from Dad. Apparently, sometime in those last weeks, maybe when he realized what Nathaniel had done, he tried to write him. It wasn't long. Just a few lines. "I don't know what papers you made me sign. I hope I'm wrong. But if you did what I think you did, I want you to know, the house isn't the only thing I built. I built you. Both of you. And you were supposed to take care of each other. If you read this and feel nothing, then I failed. If you read it and feel ashamed, maybe there's still hope for you." I didn't know what to do with that. I don't know if Nathaniel ever read it. Maybe he did. Maybe that's why he sold the house to me. Or maybe he just ran out of options and needed the cash. I haven't heard from him since. Sometimes I sit on the porch with a coffee, the same spot where Dad and I used to talk, and I wonder what he'd think of all this. If he'd be proud. Or if he'd be disappointed that I had to tear down my own brother just to set things right. I fixed the roof. Repainted every room. Turned the garage into a reading space and framed some of Dad's journal pages on the wall. I even kept one blank journal of his on the desk, like a promise to keep telling the story. Because in the end, this wasn't just about property. It was about family. About what we passed down, and what we let go of. So I'll ask you this. If someone betrayed your father's final wish, lied to your face, and tried to erase everything he stood for, would you have done what I did? Or was I just fighting fire with fire? Was I the bad guy here too?